2024 is a year of many things. It's an election year, it's a leap year, and it's also the year of Top Thrill 2. In 2024, Cedar Point is going to be opening back up Top Thrill Dragster in the new form of Top Thrill 2. Back when Top Thrill Dragster was initially closed indefinitely, many of us speculated about what was going to happen to the ride. Coaster enthusiasts thought one thing, GP thought another, and every single coaster YouTuber had their own unique spin on what was happening. Intamin, S&S, Zamperla? Yep, that was the reaction of most of us when we found out that Zamperla was going to be involved in the project. When it was announced that Zamperla would be bringing new life into Top Thrill Dragster, many coaster enthusiasts completely lost their mind, and not in a good way. People were completely trashing on this company when it was first announced that they were doing it. Comments like these were a regular thing on my channel as well as others. But that was in the heat of the moment. When you fast forward to today, pretty much everyone accepts the fact that Zamperla is doing it and they're probably going to do a good job. Zamperla has never done anything remotely close to this scale, so it looks like a giant gamble. Why would Cedar Fair take a giant risk on such a small company? Now, Zamperla as a whole is huge. They have their foot in the door of almost every park in the kiddie ride department. But in terms of thrill coasters, they haven't done much. On the surface, for Cedar Fair to use Zamperla, it seems like a giant gamble. But let's look under the surface. Do companies ever gamble with millions and millions of dollars? Well, sometimes, but usually it's a lot more calculated than you would think. Today, we're going to talk about why Cedar Fair went with Zamperla, and what are the implications for the coaster industry and the future. This video is in two sections. The first section deals with Zamperla and why they were chosen, while the second talks about how Top Thrill Dragster is actually genius. We're going to solve this by looking backwards. We know that Zamperla is being used for the project, but something about them must have been attractive for Cedar Fair to initially select them. So that's our first place to look. When snooping around the web for some information, I found a few things. The first is Zamperla's coaster department used to be a lot smaller. Now, this may seem self-explanatory. Obviously, they're going to do more coasters, so they're going to hire more engineers. But not at this scale. Within the last couple of years, Zamperla has hired so many more coaster engineers, and specifically thrill ride coaster engineers. I'm talking about the fact that they literally took engineers who used to work for Intamin and other companies and brought them over to Zamperla. And their recent designs have looked eerily similar to something that Intamin would do. If you look at the Top Thrill 2 trains, and more specifically the restraints, it is very similar to some of that next generation stuff that Intamin does. So that brings us to the first reason that Zamperla was selected for this project. Number one is they are capable of doing so. But just mere capability isn't enough to sell something. There must be another reason why Cedar Fair chose them. So now let's move on to the price. How much does it really cost for Top Thrill 1 to become Top Thrill 2? How much is Zamperla really charging them? The answer is, we don't know. There have been much speculation that says that Zamperla's bid for this project was significantly cheaper than other companies such as Intamin and S&S, but we don't even know. We don't know if they contacted Intamin or S&S for this. This is merely speculation. I've looked and could not find anything that other companies were contacted besides Zamperla, but I would think they were. So we have no way of telling if Zamperla's was cheaper or not. And I keep going back to that point that previous Intamin workers now work at Zamperla. Maybe Cedar Fair just doesn't want to work with Intamin. We know they have a very strained relationship, so maybe Intamin was never even contacted for this. We don't know. But considering the fact that Zamperla has some of the engineers, maybe they wanted Intamin quality without having to deal with the Intamin management team. Who knows? And I've mentioned this on the channel a few times before, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but this is Zamperla's big chance. If they do this, it will improve the relationship with Cedar Fair and put Zamperla on the map for thrill coasters. Because right now in the United States, they don't do much. But maybe, just maybe, if they do Top Thrill Dragster, we could be seeing a lot more of Zamperla rides in the future. So those are three potential reasons of why Zamperla was chosen in the first place. Number one is the capability. They are definitely capable of doing it. Number two is the relationship. Number three is potentially the price. And number four, they're not intimate. They're intimate without being intimate, if you know what I mean. The designs of the trains and even some of the track work look very similar, so maybe this is a way for them to have a semi-relationship with an intimate-like company. But this is kind of tricky because Zamperla is no intimate. As of yet. Who knows? So we just talked about Zamperla, but now it's time to talk about Top Thrill 2 and Cedar Fair and precisely why this is genius. Before the transformation and even before the accident, Top Thrill Dragster was extremely unreliable. Whenever you went to Cedar Point, you would never be certain that Top Thrill Dragster would even be open. The ride suffered downtime because of the launch, the braking system, and the trains. This was extremely expensive to fix. All this constant maintenance that they had to do to make sure the ride was operating wasn't great for the park. And when the accident occurred, that was just the final nail in the coffin that sealed its fate. So Cedar Point thought to themselves, is it really worth it for the same company to fix the ride? Probably the same thing would happen again. Not the accident, but just the extended downtime. So instead, they opted for something completely different. They decided to completely reimagine the ride, and this is the genius move. Imagine for a second you are not a coaster enthusiast, you have never heard of Intamin, you have never heard of Zamperla, B&M, and all the others. You are simply a casual park goer. Now imagine you're looking at this animation with the giant reverse spike and the multiple launches. This looks epic, especially if you have no prior knowledge about Zamperla or Intamin. You just see that Cedar Point is adding an awesome ride. The average person thinks that the parks themselves manufacture the coasters. So honestly, they don't even think about Zamperla or Intamin, so this debate is only with the coaster enthusiasts. Now with that in our mind, this is a great move for Cedar Point. They were able to kill two birds with one stone. They were able to fix the reliability completely. Probably. We'll get to that in a minute. And they were able to create a brand new experience that is easily marketable. And not to mention the fact that they probably got this at a good deal with a manufacturer they already have a great relationship with. So this is a win-win-win for Cedar Point. If we forget about the coaster enthusiasts for a minute, I know that's a hard thing to do, but we are in the minority. The average person is who the parks are truly trying to market to. That's why every park won't add a B&M Giga Coaster or an Intamin Giga Coaster like I-305, because they're not marketing towards the enthusiasts, they are marketing towards the general public. Families spend way more money at parks than coaster enthusiasts do. So this is not marketing towards us, they're marketing towards the group that brings them the most money. Zamperla's coasters are very tame, even the ones with the launches. So I think this is going to be a very easy ride for the general public to re-ride again and again and again. If you contrast that to something like I-305 at King's Dominion, you will clearly see that that is not marketed towards the general public, it is for the coaster enthusiasts. When you get on that ride, you know it is meant for the coaster enthusiasts because it is so intense. But that results in it not getting much of a line. I-305 does not bring in as many people as a ride like Dominator does. That gets way more of a line at King's Dominion, and honestly, it should be reversed. But you have to realize that the general public doesn't like things overly intense. So that brings us to this new Zamperla version of Top Thrill 2. It's going to look very, very intimidating. It is gigantic, but it is going to ride very smoothly and pretty easily. The average member of the general public will look up at the ride, they will be scared to death, but maybe their friends will convince them to go on. They will go on it and it will be super fun. It won't be super duper intense, but it'll just be fun. And then when it's over, they will feel this sense of accomplishment and go back and ride it again. Completely opposite to what I-305 does, which leaves you with a mild headache if you do it too many times. So that is the main reason why this is a genius move. I think if Intamin redid it, it would be more intense and overall a better ride for a person like me who's an adrenaline junkie, but the general public wouldn't like it as much. The only concern that I have with this ride is in terms of reliability. I know we are back at this again. I think the first couple months might see a bit of sporadic downtime with this thing, with it simply being a prototype ride. It's a prototype for Zamperla. They've never done anything remotely close to this. But I think after a while, the kinks are going to get worked out and it's going to go flawless. I trust Zamperla more than I do Intamin for reliability, I know that's a controversial thing, but if you look at all the kiddie coasters they have, you never see a kiddie coaster down at a park. If you have, let me know in the comments below. But the Zamperla things are usually good in the long run. And Intamin is a lot better lately. They would have done a fantastic job too, and it would have been fairly reliable. But since they went with Zamperla, we have to stick with it. So those are the reasons why Cedar Point has a winner on their hands for Top Thrill 2. It may seem like an odd choice to go with Zamperla, but after the points I laid out in this video, you can probably see why. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below if you are excited to ride Top Thrill 2 when it opens this year. And what do you think of this? Do you think Zamperla was a good choice? And if not, who do you think would have done better? This is the Kosher Josh signing out, and thank you all so much for watching.